money to finish building this.
We should pass around maybe.
Well, people come and take it, don't worry.
Take something.
Yeah, you do. What's on the line?
I'm gonna drive. You left. You don't have a down traffic.
Oh. So, at the Yom-Tes, tonight's Kislev, and there was a very interesting sikha. The Rebbe spoke. It was 1960. Simchas Beis Sheva Sukkis Tashav Chav Aleph. However, the Rebbe explained what the idea of Chassidus is, and that sikha was later on. The Rebbe edited that sikha many years later, 20 years later. He edited it and published it for Yud-Tes Kislev, because it explained the theme behind what Chassidus brings out. Now, the sikha is based on a sikha that the Frierdiker Rebbe said. It was actually a sukkah sikha, and the Frierdiker Rebbe gave a mashal of what the concept of Chassidus is, what the Chassidus bring out. And this was the mashal he gave. And the Rebbe explained the mashal. Explain this mashal the Frierdiker Rebbe said. Said like this: there are pearls, margolius. In Yiddish, is called peril, and people have that name peril. They're found in the seabed, and there's something called coals. There's coal mines and gecholim. So you have margolius and gecholim. Margolius are pearls. Gecholim are coals. Coals are found in the depths of the earth. You have to mine them. What do coals do? Coals make light, they give warmth. So the seder is, how do you mine the coals? You have someone who's he's a manager, he's the leader, and he shows them where to dig and how to find the coals. And the workers rely on his chachma, that he knows what to do. And however, they have to listen to him exactly what he tells them, their instructions, and they follow through his instructions, they will find the coals. However, even though you have workers and you have a leader who's showing them what to do, they need something else. They need their own connection, their own life force connection. When you're down there, that you don't have air really to breathe. So you need to have air.
On your own.
You have to have your own air. You can't rely that the leader is breathing. You have to breathe on your own. Now, if a person doesn't have air, he doesn't live. It means he has no more chayis to himself, no more life force. Same thing when someone goes down the sea. They go down to get the pearls. You have to have a connection to air. You have to be able to breathe. You have the connection to above, to the life, the ruach hachayim, which is above, which is on the ground. This is a mashal the Frierdiker Rebbe gave, and he concluded the mashal. In the Kamun of the mashal, he said that everyone can understand the nimshal. Chassidus makes lichtig and varim. Chassidus brings light and warmth, like coals do. However, a person needs to go down into depths of the earth to bring it out. When you go down, you have to stay connected with above, and that's how you have life. And that was at Khan what the Frierdiker Rebbe said. He didn't talk it out fully. So the Rebbe points out that although the mashal starts off, or the Frierdiker Rebbe started off with pearls, margolius, he goes into Gecholim, and the rest of the mashal is all about Gecholim, mainly about holes. And in the ending, the Nimshol, he just says Chassidus is like holes, warmth brings warmth and light, and he doesn't talk out.
What?
How about pearls? So it seems that the Iker idea of Chassidus is the mashal coals, not pearls. Now, everything in Torah is exact, and everything has a meaning to it. Why do we find? Why are coals dafka found in the earth, and pearls are dafka found in the sea? It's not just because it happened to be that's where they are. There happens to be a reason, a ruchnistic reason as why that's the case. It's no type of connection between pearls and the sea, and coals and the ground. It just happens to be the Bagashmi is still there. There's also something, a connection in Teichen between the two. So understand this, it's explained in many Sfarim that what is the difference between those creations that are on the earth and creations that live in the sea. Nivrayim Shabadama, Nivrayim Shabayam. It says, the Pasuk says in Keheles, Hakoil Hoya Mina Offer. See Hashem, we say in the Bereshis, Hashem created everything from the ground. The creation created from the earth. And not only did they create it from the land, where do we get our food from? From the ground. So the things that grow, that's where we get our life from. However, after a Nivra creation is created, he has no connection anymore. He separates from the earth. He came from there, it's the source, but he separates from it. However, Bruyim Shabayam, like fish, we know the famous Gemara, which says, right? He said, when the fish leave the water, right away they die. The fish have to always be in their source. So it means creations that are on the ground don't have to always be connected to their source. You can go on the sea, you can go fly, you don't have to be connected to the ground. Creations that are in the sea have to always be connected to their source. And that's why it says, Svarim explain, that sea, Yam, is a mashal. There are different worlds that are called in Zohar. There are worlds called Alman Simin, hidden worlds, and there are Alman Disgalian, revealed worlds. What does that mean? Hidden worlds, really? What's hidden? Hiding somewhere? What does it mean? Hidden, Alman Stimin, and Alman Disgalian. Yam, sea, is a mashal of the worlds that feel their koyach. They feel their life force. Just like the fish feel their life force. A fish, right away, you take him out of water, he can't survive. He feels right away he's away from his life source. There are worlds Hashem created. These worlds feel their constant connection to their source. And that's why they're called Alman Simin, hidden worlds, because they're not really so much of a world. They don't really feel themselves as separate, and that they
feel the connection.
They have an existence to their own. That's why they're called Stimin. They're hidden worlds, because the world aspect to it is hidden. What you see in it is an entity which is constantly connected to Hashem, to Elikos, like fish in water. However, land, Eretz, says in Svarim, is a mashal for those worlds that the creations in those worlds don't feel that they have a koyach haliki. They don't feel that they're created from Hashem. They don't feel that connection to their life force. They are called Almin Disgalian, revealed worlds. What does that mean, revealed worlds? That the world is revealed by these worlds. They feel the world. They don't feel Hashem. They feel worldly. They feel Almin, because they don't feel connected to their source. Just like the creations on earth are not attached to the ground. We don't have something attaching us to the ground. We can go freely wherever we want, and we can leave the ground. Same thing, there are worlds that are, Eretz is a mashal on those worlds where they don't feel connected to Elikos. Obviously, everything comes from Hashem. The question is whether we feel it or whether we don't feel it. Alma and the Stimin feel their connection to Elikos. So they're compared to Yam. Alma and the Sgalian don't feel their connection to their Koyach Eliki that gives them life. And therefore, they are compared to Aretz, where the Nevrayim don't feel that connection. And that is the difference over here between, in this mashal, between the coals which are found in the earth and the pearls that are found in the sea. Because Chassidus has an effect on a person in two different ways. It affects his revealed aspect. It affects the revealed aspect of him, his Galia, the Adama Shabai, the earthly part of him, and it also affects his Sasim, the part of the Yam, which is part of him, the part that feels connected to Hashem. So, we know, Chassidus, which it reveals secrets of Torah, of Kabbalah, and talks it out. Why should our generation, and already starting from the Baal Shem Tov and on, be zoicha to this? These are things that are shayches to the Kabbalim, and make sense for people that are Baalei Madrega. Why did the Baal Shem Tov and his Talmidim start to teach these Torahs to everyone? And it became a spashet all over the world. Seemingly, later generations weren't more worthy than the earlier generations. They were more roi. However, Adrabah, Dafka, because we are not roi, that's why it was revealed. Because we are not roi, and we have the Choshech HaGalus became even greater. So we need to connect ourselves to a higher level to overcome the Choshech. And when we don't only learn Mishnayos, Gemara, and Halacha, we also learn the part of the Torah which is called Nishmasa Deraisa, the Neshama of the Torah. Not just the Gufa of the Torah, but also the Neshama of the Torah. The Torah has a Guf, the Torah has a Neshama. The Guf of the Torah is all the Halachas, all the Mishnayos, and then there's a Neshama behind all the Halachas and all the Guf. Now that Neshama, in order to ma'orer our neshamas in the lower generations, the later generations, we need, in order to overcome the darkness, we need to reveal within ourselves inner strength to overcome it. Earlier generations, the choshech was not so great. They didn't need to reveal this inner strength inside of them.
The nigla was enough.
It was enough, yeah. They learned to blat Gemara, and that was enough to keep them connected. As the time went along, it became evident that wasn't enough to connect someone, feel connected
to Hashem
and to a likus, and therefore a person should be ma'orer, inspire inside of himself as neshama. How do you inspire as neshama to overcome this? By learning the part of the Torah that's the neshama. The neshama deraisa, the nishmasa deraisa, will reveal his neshama. That's one explanation. However, in other places, it says that there's another reason why Dafke in the Doiris Hachroinim, these Soidis were revealed. And that's like this. We know there's a din brought in the Shulchan Aruch that Erev Shabbos, before Shabbos, one is supposed to taste from the Shabbos foods. Taste from the Shabbos. It's called Tayamel. So the Rebbe one time said that he never saw by his father-in-law, the Frierdiker Rebbe, that he should do the minig of Tayamel, even though it's brought in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. But he said for sure by him, he had the ruchnistic idea of Tayamel was for sure there. Anyway, so the idea of taimel that now that it's based on something from the Arizal. It's not something just let's enjoy some chalent for Shabbos. It has a Kabbalistic reason behind it. That when it's coming close, it's a many svarim. Bring this idea coming close to Shabbos, so you already can taste the ideas of Shabbos before. You get a taste of it. So similarly, before the Geula is going to come, when the Geula is going to come, we're going to learn everything and understand how, when you learn a Mishnah, what does this Mishnah mean? Shnayim oichse betala, shorish v'nogach hapara. What does this mean, Momaila? It's just about two people arguing? Or is it something deeper? Is there something deeper to it? It's just about a shor and a para, or there's something deeper to it. When the Geula will come, we'll truly see the deeper meaning behind all the words of Chazal. We'll see how like Yashav Midvarav Reikam, that everything of the words is emes, and we'll see the deeper understanding behind it. Now that we're holding closer to the Geula, so these we already having like we're Erev Shabbos now. We're Erev Shabbos after Chatzos. We're very close to the Geula. It says the world will exist. The Gemara says for Shis Alfei Shnin Have Alma, 6,000 years. We are now very close to the ending of the 6,000 years. We're in 5,786. So we are already holding Erev Shabbos after Chatzos, when it's a time close to Shabbos, when someone we could take a te'ima, a taste, what will be revealed la'asid.
It's spicy now. This is not spicy, this is spicy. Next open.
I'll take it. Give me a plate.
Little kamashki.
Isn't that a mitzvah? No, but you have forks.
Here.
Now,
Fine.
Chaim.
Yom-Tes, שנה טובה תיכתב ותיכתב.
Amen. Can I ask you a question? It's a yontiv. Do veil and daven for the honor?
Yeah.
it still do work, right? Still do malacha. Right?
What?
It's a pnimi sticky yomtiv. You don't see this gala in
It's a call. It's a call. It's a dark.
people wear kapatas and they say tachlan.
What's in my
Why should you have to daven for the honor? Just say cows. Anybody
That's a sheesh.
Yes, you do it the whole way, but not halfway.
Now, what's the difference between the two different explanations as why the Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe explain the ideas of Chassidus, Dafke? Why did they come out Dafke in the later days? Like, one oifen is, according to the first reason, is Chassidus came here sort of like a broom, sweep away the dirt. Chassidus is here to help us deal with our nisyonis, our nefesh bahamis, with the Yetzer Hara, with the choshech hagolas, to give us that strength, that toikif, that we can withstand the great depths of darkness that we are in now. It's a choshech. However, according to the second reason, Chassidus is not here to deal with the choshech. Fakert, Chassidus is here to give us a taste, a te'ima, tayamer chayim zachu, of the inyan, of what's going to be la'asalave, just to connect us with other kus. Similar idea, it says in Kislev Arizal talks very often, and Peter Zayer talks very often about the idea of avodas habirurim. The idea of Torah and mitzvahs is to mevader the oichel mitoich hapsoilus, and that's why Shabbos is an iser of bitter. The Shabbos, the bitter happens by itself, so therefore we don't have to. You're not allowed to take out separate the oichel and psoilus and Shabbos. But during the week, the aveda is to take a mafred, the toiv and the ra, and that's the idea of Torah mitzvahs. However, la'asad lavai, we're still going to keep mitzvahs when Mashiach comes. but we don't have any more Ra. V'sruach hatuma avim in haaretz. There'll be no more choshech. There'll be no more Ra. So what will be the idea of mitzvahs? So the Alter Rebbe explains this idea in Tanya, in a letter of his, and he says that the idea what will be of mitzvahs, l'asalavi will be not levader birurim, because that will be done already, but rather to go uplift oneself to higher levels. We know Talmidei Chacham ein la menucha, leiba elam haza, v'led mahaba. Yeah, meaning there is higher levels in kedusha itself. It's not only, like we go to the mikveh. When the Kohen Gadol went to the mikveh on Yom Kippur, the first time he goes 5 times to the mikveh in Yom Kippur. In the Beis Hamikdash, when he went the first time, he's already tar. If he was tamei, he went to the mikveh, became tar. Why did he have to go again and again and again? Because there's a concept of going higher levels in Kedusha itself. And the previous level in Kedusha is somewhat like like Tamei to the next level, going higher in Kedusha itself. So when la'asalavi, the idea of doing mitzvahs and learning Torah will not be to deal with the nefesh abahamis. Lahatish koyach esetracha. Now, there will be no setracha. The whole idea will be not levada berunim, but to go hamshachis and aliyis in kedusha gufa, in kedusha itself. That's it. There'll only be kedusha. But you can always go higher in kedusha. Ein sof. The Eibushter is b'li gvul. Always go higher and higher to another medreg, another medreg. So al derech zeh in Chassidus, there is the idea when we learn Chassidus to help us deal with our nefesh abahamis, deal with the veld. We have the syonis. But if you have a nisyonis, whatever it might be, to keep us strong, learning Titus of Al Shem Tov helps with that. But then there's another idea, not mitzad the choshech. This idea that we're zoicha now that's coming close to the gula, that we have a me'ain, a te'ima of what's going to be then, and it's nothing to do with the choshech. It's a pure geula matzav. It's an idea of the neshama. Shmasa deiraisa for itself, not here as a tool to be megadish the choshech. It's the pure idea of the neshama of the Torah itself. Now, everyone understands that when you're looking at these two explanations, Siddur to help you deal with your avodas Hashem, with the choshech, with your nefesh bahamis, or a te'ima for la'asad, what's more important? It's more important the first idea, that a person needs to be able to make sure he keeps Torah mitzvahs. If Chassidus helps him, learning Torah helps him be a stronger Yid, a better Yid, that's more important than being a te'ima la'asad. He's not holding by that level. That's why the Fidik Rebbe gave a mashal, says the Rebbe, he gave Gecholim and Margolis. He said Chassidus is compared to Gecholim, coals and margolis. Gecholim, coals, is something we need. We need to have coals. We need to have heat. Everyone needs heat, right? We need it to be warmer in the room over here, right? We need heat. And we need light. Gecholim give off light and heat. Pearls, having jewelry, having pearls, it's not necessary. That's an extra. That's an extra thing. When someone comes and goes to before a melech, you need to be dressed properly to cook a shame. But it's not something which is mukhrach.
Not necessary.
You can survive without it.
Right.
But in order to survive, you need to have gecholim. You can't survive without having a heat source, without having a source of light. So that's why the Fidik Rebbe focused mainly in discussing and bringing out how Chassidus is compared to gecholim. Because that's the ikar of Chassidus. So the most vital point is that Chassidus helps you and gives you light and gives you chayis and Avodas Hashem.
What's gechalim? You know what gechalim in Hebrew? It has to be hot. Not cold.
No, falls באנגלית, גחלים.
Oh, cold.
Pecham.
is
Pecham. How do you say it in Hebrew?
Called
Pechamim. They don't say gechalim. It's a lashon kodesh.
No.
Gechalim in Hebrew is
It's
when you
lit,
make a barbecue.
lit when you
What's
lit the pecham.
It calls it
It's called
gechalim.
gechalim.
But it's hot.
Gechalim lo atov.
You don't see the fire, but you make
Right.
a little bit of wind and
Pechamim is the charcoal. It's the coal.
Charcoal, yeah, charcoal thing.
Now, the idea behind gechalim as a masha for chassidus, giving light and giving warmth. What is light and warmth? Is that something when you turn the light on in the room and off and on,
anything.
nothing changed in the room. Everything's exactly the way it was before. Not moisif, not gedeya. But now it's lichtig. It's lichtig. Warmth, also physically nothing changed. Either you're warm or you're not warm. It's not something tangible. It's not something you can measure how wide it is and how big it is. It doesn't take up space and time. Chassidus did not come to add chas v'shalom, a new mitzvah to the Torah, or to chas v'shalom take away from a mitzvah. That's not chassidus. That's kfira. That's not chassidus. Chassidus, dibur likim chayim, is to bring oir and chayis. There's a famous letter, the Rebbe Rashab. One time he was not able to. He was abroad when time before Yud-Tes Kislev. It was in the year Taf Reish Samach Beis, which I think is 1902.
Oh, yeah.
And or maybe 1901, depending if it was when was the New Year. So Taf Reish Samach Beis, I guess it was in 1901. Before he was abroad. And the Chassidim are worried, is the Rebbe Rashab going to come back for Yud-Tes Kislev? We know the Frierdiker Rebbe and the Rebbe Farbrengen a lot. Often. The Rebbe Rashab didn't Farbrengen too many times a year. He said, my Marim. He would come out and say a Maimer Dach. Sichis and Farbrengen, a few times a year. Simchas Torah, Yud-Tes Kislev, Purim. 3-4 times a year.
It wasn't very rude like the Frierdiker Rebbe.
No, Chayel didn't exist then. Quiet, Chassidim didn't know about it until the Frierdiker times, when he was Megala Chayel. And he Farbrengen 3-4 times a year, and everyone Chassidim looked forward to that. It was something to look forward to a whole year, especially Yud-Tes Kislev is the most special day by Chassidim. So they're looking forward to it, but he was away. He was going, I think, for health purposes. But they were worried, is he going to be back or not? And they were hopeful he's going to be back. And the Frierdiker Rebbe was running the yeshiva. His son was running the yeshiva in Lubavitch, in the village of Lubavitch. He had all the bachrim there, and all of them were hoping that Rebbe Rashab is going to come, going to Farbrengen for the Chassidim, for the bachrim, for everyone. In the ending, the Rebbe did not make it back. But he sent a telegram. And he sent a telegram with a long letter where he lays out what he views of what Yud-Tes Kislev means. And he says in that letter, and that letter was the Frierdiker Rebbe, who was the Menal of the yeshiva, called all the Bachrim together on the Hala and Hala. And he read this letter from his father sent, a very emotional letter, talking all about what is Chassidus and what is Yud-Tes Kislev about. And he read it before all the Talmidim. And that gave them a big chayis. So one of the things he writes in the letter, which is also printed in the Hayom Yom tomorrow, he says, Chassidus is or the chayis. Yud-Tes Kislev is a day that or the chayis nafshenu nitilanu. We have or chayis nafshenu of our souls. Or and chayis, like we said, is not something new. It's something. It just gives you light and chayis to what pre-exists.
I mean that you don't have to actually even the Yidden that don't participate Farbrengens or on Yud-Tes Kislev, they got the light. They got the
light came. We have to tap into it.
They got the power of Yud-Tes Kislev. Etzem Hayom.
That's a idea. It's so now, people say, why do I need to study Chassidus? Minig, Avasaini, Biyadaini. We didn't hear this from Isaiah all the way back. It's a new thing. So The answer to that, the Rebbe says, is you know that your Zayda was a lot warmer and lichtiger, warmer and lichtiger than you were. And in an incomparably way, where he was on a much higher level. They were much warmer and lichtiger Yidden. That's why he didn't need it. But you, and that was that generation, that time. But when you are not on that level, you need the Chassidus.
They didn't have a
A
television.
Yid who lived
They
before the
did-
Baal Shem, a Yid who lived before the Baal Shem Tov, a Yid who lived before the Baal Shem Tov was not missing the Baal Shem Tov. He didn't need the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov came as a raya that you need it now. Oh, Baruch Reifei Chaylim.
A different generation.
You said Hagoymel yet or not?
What?
Did you make Hagoymel yet?
No, I just came a few hours ago. I came home.
Wow. Wow. Baruch Hashem, walking around. You're walking around. Wow.
I was there for a whole week.
Wow.
Yeah. We were diving for you over here.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yes. Amazing. Good to see you.
You have a new
I
heart?
spoke to him on the phone, but now I can see him in person. Yeah, I'm sure you
It
call
was
him.
90% what?
Whoa.
Two Adorot. This was
Yeah. Yeah.
That-
Something like someone someone will say to himself, during Tammuz time, I don't need to turn on the furnace. So too, therefore, in the winter, I also didn't turn on the furnace. Obviously, he's a fool.
Come on.
You make a hekish. If then I don't need to turn on in the summertime, so in the winter too. The summer was hot. Now you're not hot, you're cold. You need to turn it on. Your Zayda, he was able to be a Yiddish Shemayim and to have life and chayis and chassidus without chassidus. So now it's colder times, it's darker times. You need to have the oir of Shivas Hayamim, the Baal Shem Tov, the Talmidov, to give that chayis. Now,
I asked Halberstam this morning, go down there in the morning. You're going to be saying, you're not going to be saying Tachmann. So I said, Yud-Tes. So he tells me, it's the musician markets, yeah, we don't seem to like put any highest to that. Put highest to other also because Yud-Tes for some reason out means.
it's interesting when the Alter Rebbe came out from jail, he wrote a letter to two of his chaverim, two of the big Talmid in the Magid. One was a Rabbi Yitzchak of Berditchev, and the other one was to Reb Baruch Mezhebusher, who was the grandson of Baal Shem Tov. Later on, they had some theological different approaches to Chassidus, but he sent him two letters, and he wrote that I was released on the day of our Rebbe's yahrzeit, on the day of the Hilula of our Rebbe, the Magid. That's when I came out. So the Alter Rebbe saw it as a hemshich of the Magid, a connection with the Magid. Now you have to remember that life force, even an animal has life force. It's not, you have some people, everyone has life. Life force has to be channeled in the right way. Chayis, an animal has also chayis, a behemoth. Chayis has a lot more chayis than a human being could have, depending what type of animal. They have a lot of chayis. So having chayis is important, but it has to be directed with the oil. With the light shows the right way, where and how far you can attain in life. When a person has a light that shows him the way and the path, what you can attain, and the chayis he has is not only that he should live his life and do whatever he's used to doing. A person can live his whole life and never go out of his box, out of his nature. The Gemara says, it's based on psukim. There's someone called Ha'ovet Hashem, it's called Avodai, and there's someone's called Lo Avodai. He didn't say, what do you mean he doesn't serve Hashem? The Gemara explains you have someone who he learns 100 times, the chazes over what he learned, and there's one who went 101 times. So if they always chazed in those days 100 times, that was normal. They chazed over the learning 100 times. That was normal. That's called Lo Avadei. He's obviously serving Hashem. He's learning, but it's called Lo Avadei. However, if the person pushes himself and does above the norm in that time, and he went to 101, which is very difficult, they can't push themselves anymore. He went and did 101 more. He's called the Oived Hashem. He's Avadei. He's a Oived Hashem.
Excellent.
He went to extra level. Like we know when you take a taxi somewhere. So if it's a normal route is $10. Then you go the extra bit could cost you a lot more sometimes because that's going out of the regular route. So we can our whole lives sit and we could say Sisu b'nei Me'ai, and we could be comfortable in our comfort zone. But Chassidus tells us we have to go out of our comfort zone. It encourages us that we should see the Or, recognize the Eibishter is Bli Gvul, the Eibishter is Ein Sof, and we can strive to much higher. We can strive to much higher. We're Adam HaShafel, but a person will look and see the Or. He can have a chayis, Or v'chayis Hashem Italim. He can have a chayis to a much higher level. He can go out of himself more. We say B'chol nafshecha, B'chol levavcha, B'chol nafshecha, or B'chol meidecha. B'chol meidecha is already a whole nother level. B'chol nafshecha, levavcha is something you could contain. Give your whole nefesh to the Eibishter. Then is B'chol meidecha. B'chol meidecha means you're doing more than what you could. How could you do more than what you could? How could you go do more than you could? Everyone has their nature, has a teva. How could you do more than you could? You know how you could do more than you could? When you realize that you're not you. When you realize that you are really higher than what you are. You're connected to the Eibishter. You're connected to Likus. The Eibishter is Beligvul. The Eibishter is Ein Sof. If we say in English, he's the Almighty. He's the Infinite One. So as long as you see yourself as a being with limitations, taka true. You can't leave your limitations. You can't leave your nature. Whatever was yesterday is going to be tomorrow, and it's going to stay the same. And we take a look at ourselves with a different look. We say that really I have an neshama, and I'm connected to the Eibishter, and therefore I could break out of my teva. I could go b'chol ma'idech. I could go l'mayla ma'ateva. I could do something beyond what I normally do. I could take upon myself a new kviyut and learning chassidus, nigla, or having Abbas Yisrael to someone who I really don't want to have Abbas Yisrael to. Go out of my limits to do something that out of my comfort zone. I'm not so comfortable with asking this person and trying to see if he's okay and needs help, whether it's Hatzala Ruchnius, Hatzala Gashmius. It's pushing yourself out. A person could say, oh, I'm fine, I can't do this, it's not me. I live in my box. We're telling you, we're going to turn on the lights by you. They say the expression, turn on the lights by someone, that you should see a lot more. Recognize this you could recognize that you can reach a lot higher. You can push yourself a lot greater and with a lot more chayis. Fine. Says that the Baal Shem Tov, it was famous during the times of the Magid. The Mazutcha Magid was just one of the Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov had many Talmidim, but Chavraya Kadisha. One of the famous Talmidim was a Pinchas Karitzer. The famous Slavita brothers were his children. The Shapiro,
the one who printed the Tanya.
the printing press, who had the famous story with the printing press. They had a malshinis on them, and they had to sit in jail. They had to go through. The soldier whipped them. There's stories about their name was Shapiro, and there are Eneklach today from them. And someone in the earlier years, someone gave the Rebbe matana. He bought off a grandson who lived in Tel Aviv. He needed money to make investments, and he said that he'll sell the Torah that he has from his Zayda, from the Savita brothers that they used in the jail. They're in prison, and they had a Sefer Torah with them. So he sold the Sefer Torah to Lubavitcher Chassid in Tel Aviv, who gave it to the Rebbe and he made a mantle on it, and he put a mantle with his family's names on it, and he gave it to the Rebbe. And that's a small Sefer Torah. You've seen all the pictures of the Rebbe holding that Torah. That was from those Slavita Brider. That was their Sefer Torah. The Rebbe was very much mechavev that Torah. He felt it very close to him. So the Pinchas Karitzer, it says that the Alter Rebbe was once by the Pinchas Karitzer, and at that time there was a daf, a manuscript of Chassidus was blowing around on the floor and in the garbage, and it was disrespectful. And the Pinchas Karitzer was very upset about it because his shita was not like the Maggid. The Maggid had tons of Talmidim. It made so many Talmidim, the Maggid. All the Chassidisim today, all the various groups, all stem back to the Mizrach Maggid. But the Pinchas Karitzer held Chassidus is for the select few. He didn't agree with this Mahalach. So Pinchas Karitzer had a kapeda. He was makbid on the Maggid. Look at this. Soidus HaTorah are just sitting around over here going into the Ashba. This is what happens because of this derech. This derech is supposed to be kept pristine and pure. This is what he said. So the Alter Rebbe was there, and the Alter Rebbe saw that he was a tzaddik of Pinchas Karitzer, that he was upset at the Maggid. So the Alter Rebbe told him the famous mashal, came later on, a famous mashal. He said to him about when you have the king's son, his only son, the crown prince, is very sick, and the doctors have no medicine for him, aside for they say that the crown prince, the king, has a crown that's been passed down to many generations. This crown, and it's the crown jewel on this crown. This stone is the key to the healing of the crown prince. You'll take the stone and grind the stone up. You mix it with water and you'll pour it into the mouth of the prince. If even a little drop goes in, it will heal him. So of course the king didn't waste any time, even though this is such a special crown to him. This is the whole melucha was in the crown and so many generations. But if the crown prince is not around, there is no kingdom. There's no continuation. So if we don't need the crown anymore if there's not going to be a crown prince. So there's not going to be a prince. So the king obviously grounded, at least a little bit should go into the. So this he explained that, yes, true, we're dealing with the precious gem of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the deep sidus of the Torah, but the prince is in trouble. Klal Yisrael needs that chayis to live. They're going through very difficult times. This was, remember, after time periods of Tach V'Tat, a very difficult time period in the world. The Lashon, it says in Svarim, is that when the Baal Shem Tov came to the world was bis alphos. Yiddishkeit was, Yidden felt very schwach about themselves. And Yidden needed this to lift them up. And what we needed, if this is what's needed, yes, some of it might spill out. But at least some drops will go into the Klal Yisrael, into the prince's mouth, into their mind, and will give them a chayis to keep them strong in the Yiddishkeit. So with that, the Pinchas Karitzer calmed down and he accepted the mashal of the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe one time asked, how could if the Pinchas Karitzer, the Alter Rebbe already dealt with the Pinchas Karitzer's kapeda, that the Maggid was spreading Chassidus, why did the Alter Rebbe himself have to go to prison? It says, we know that there was obviously gashmistic reasons why Alter Rebbe went, and there was Masira, and people, and they said that he was trying to send money to Turkey, which was at odds, Ottoman Empire, which had odds with the Russian Empire, and because he was sending money to Eretz Yisrael to support the Midei Chacham who were learning in Eretz Yisrael. They had no money in Eretz Yisrael. They didn't have a way to make parnassa. So they needed to get support from Europe. And so they malshan him, and also they said that Alter Rebbe wants to make himself a king, and he's a threat to the kingdom, various things. But in Rosh Hashanah, and the way the Rebbe's of Chabad took it, this was something Momaila, as the Alter Rebbe was spreading a lot of chassidus. So Momaila is just saying, this is not Beseder, what you're doing. And therefore the Alter Rebbe Begashmis is put into jail. So what happened? The Alter Rebbe says he said he saw his Rebbe, the Maggid and the Baal Shem Tov in jail, and he said to them, "Why did this happen to me?" He said, "Because you're spreading a lot of chassidus." So he said, "So should I stop when I leave?" So now that you started, you should do even more when you leave. So the Rebbe asked, why did the Alter Rebbe have to sit another time? He already by the Pinchas Karetzer, he already took care of the issue. He explained that you need to teach chassidus, you need to spread it around, and he explained with his mashal. So why did he have to? Thing was, Alter Rebbe changed a little bit. He spread chassidus in a different way. He spread chassidus in the way of Chabad, and he was spreading it even more. It became another kitchug Maila. When Alter Rebbe came out, he changed his style of chassidus. Yeah, and the real Chabad only started after the Alter Rebbe left. He started earlier. It says that even though it says around the year Tafkuf Membeis, the Alter Rebbe started this Mahalach of Chabad. But the real, when the Alter Rebbe sat in jail, was in the year Tafkuf Yud-Tes. He came out Tafkuf Yud-Tes. It's the Alter Rebbe's Maimar changed, and many times those scholars, the experts in the Alter Rebbe's Maimarim Chassidus, can point out to you that Sut Maimarim, this seems to be a Maimer from before Peterburg, before he was in jail in Peterburg, which is the capital then, which is called Leningrad, Peterburg, or after Peterburg, because they're able to see from the style. He changed his style to explain more. How did he? Until then, the Alter Rebbe would say Maimarim more like Oyer, short, Weitlach and Oyer, but he didn't explain it as much. After he came out, he explained it with Seichel. It should be explanatory, understood, not just an emotional feeling, but something that could be learned and understood in a more Seichelic way. So, Good Yom Tiv, Yom Tiv, Oyer B'chayis Hashem Nitin Lanu, and Pada V'Shal Nafshi, Ikravli, we should all inspire ourselves today to take upon ourselves more fears, whether learning Nigla and Siddhis, to take it more serious.
Our shul should have a b'diya very soon. The stuff order. We should have a
Should be a Pada V'Shalim,
The time to ask.
the Beis HaMedrash, all the machines.
The machine should go away, exactly.
Thank you.
רפואה שלמה ליצחק בן אסתר,
כמו יצחק בן אסתר.
כמו בן אסתר, כן,
For Shlema.
יפה לגריה בת שולמית, אסתר בת שולמית, אשר בן
He just came back from the hospital. He should have.
Menachem Mendel ben Gittel Leah. Yutta Leah. Mendel Yut Leah. And the B'schus says Heilige Zayde at the back.
Put it on your telephone and bring 10 people for the Farbrengen and talk tonight.
This is neither a poor Shlema for a fall, Eliyahu, Ben Miriam.
Oh, man.
Mazel tov to Rav Stein, a new grandson.
Oh, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. Simchas.
Shabbos a week ago.
Wow, Mazel Tov.
There's no name yet. Mitzvah Shem next week.
Ah, we b'shatei v'mitzlach.
The baby is yellow, the Mashachist.
The baby is yellow. I remember the joke, you know?
Everyone's
a yellow flag.
we in the right time, Ritz Hashem.
Efter Charif, huh?
Yeah, it's good.
Israel.
No, I don't say the shenigah. I feel like
Israel.
Sasso. Sasso. Sasso.
Maar we hebben wanneer we verbrengen after we continue.
Rabbi, thank you for joining. Good to see you. Good Yom-Tes.
Good Yontif. Good Yontif. Happy Yud-Tes Kislev.
Thank you. Nice to see you still connecting with the shul.
What choice do I have? I could have been at a Farbrengen. Maybe tomorrow night.
Yeah, tomorrow night.
Nee,
Shalom tov.
Take care.